Thank you for watching our installation video of the lighted speaker panel for the WPC Bally and Williams games. This is our third generation panel, and all the panels we make now are the third generation except for Funhouse, Indiana Jones, and Star Trek: The Next Generation. So let me go over all the components that come with the kit, and some of these components you won't use. First is a power tap that'll tap into your power. From there, there's a two-way splitter that'll come off the power tap to power two LED controller boxes. One is a single output that's going to control the color and light and brightness of your panel. One's a two output that will control the light rings. Now, because there's two controllers, you can have the colors independent between your panel and the speakers. This is your remote control that you'll use to power both of them. If you have the original speaker panel, plastic speaker panel, you will use that, and these plastic razor blades will aid in getting the masking off the back of it. You get a couple of zip ties. These are your new brackets. You get more screws than you'll probably need because these are for a color DMD and these are for your original DMD. So with this you can use either DMD. These are going to be for your screws or for your speakers and the matching washers. Now on the light rings you get a few light rings. You're going to get two light rings that are this size. One of these would fit over your mid-range that comes with the game. But if you have aftermarket speakers, you'll use both of these for your aftermarket speakers. If you have original stock speakers, this is the mount for your tweeter. It appears as if it's a regular speaker, and your tweeter is going to mount to the four holes on the back, so this way your speakers will look identical. So one of these three you're not going to use. The odds are you won't use this either. This is a replacement for the U channel that your panel sits into. Occasionally, some aftermarket panels were really thick, the speaker plastic, and they were a tight fit. So if it's a tight fit, you can take your U bracket off the back and use this L channel. And then this is the lighted speaker panel itself. Comes with the speaker grills included, and it comes with the foam on the back. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the lighted panel that you'll get. The panel is thicker than your original wood that you have there. The reason for that is there's a piece in the back that is wood that all the T-nuts fit into. All of these T-nuts are tapped, and you'll get an excellent fit with your current or aftermarket equipment that you would use from this. The top half of the board is a resin type of product, and this will what allows the light to transmit. This is all white to get the proper reflectivity on it. On the back here, this is a standard 4-pin LED plug. This is what's going to plug into to light up your panel. Now on the speakers, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this. We need to make the speaker grill as small as possible so you don't get additional shadowing. But we also need to make it as large as possible to cover your whole speaker hole. On the board, there's a slight indentation that's about 1/10 of an inch further out on all directions than what your speaker grill is. The reason for that is so many different manufacturers made so many different speaker plastics over so many different years that the tolerance, accepted tolerance, is almost up to 1/8 of an inch. So your hole might be slightly off the speaker grill. If that's the case, there's very small screws that can be undone here, and this can be moved to fine-tune it to your speaker panel. The way this sits here is probably going to work on 98% of the speaker panels that are out there. So let's get started on the installation. Okay, first thing you need to do is take off your glass and store that in a safe place off to the side so it won't get banged or damaged. And then this is your main panel. It just lifts up, and make sure you have a cloth or a towel. I like a bathroom mat because it's got rubber on the bottom, and then this is just gonna tilt over and go on there, and we're ready for the next step. The first step you want to do is unscrew the screws and the nuts holding everything down to this panel. On the H channel, there's 4 screws that we're going to undo. On the new panel, the H channel does not get screwed into place. We're going to take off the speakers on the tweeter. We're going to use those screws again. On the DMD, you'll need a hex driver or a crescent wrench to remove those, and remove the screws from your main speaker. You won't reuse those screws, and remove the screws from your mounting bracket. So I'll take care of that right now. Okay, a couple of helpful hints is when you're removing the screws for the tweeter, I just leave them on the tweeter so I don't lose those. Also, when you're getting ready to take up the DMD, there's a little black spacer on the 4 screws. Make sure not to lose those because we're going to use those again. And the H channel will just slide right off. Okay, now with all the components removed, this is your original panel. And what you want to do is flip this over, and you're going to use your existing plastic. Now the masking that's on the back here kind of sticks them together a little bit, so you'll have to get under the corner and lift it up slowly. This is an aftermarket plastic, so there is none of the masking between it. But just take your time and be careful with it to pull it off. Okay, so if you have an aftermarket plastic, which is what this is, there's no masking on the back, and so this is going to lift right off. If you have an original plastic, it is going to have this black masking on it. And the way I recommend that you take this off, and I've done a lot of these, is with the red plastic razor blade that's supplied. Just get under one little corner and get that edge up a little bit. And then, or you can use your fingernail. Once it starts coming up, you want to try to pull on it evenly and not rip it. So use your 2 fingers, or 4 fingers I should say, and just continue to pull it like this. If you have a little rip like that, I would suggest just getting the razor blade under that, and you want to try to keep it as connected as possible so you can just pull it forward. If you pull it off little pieces at a time, it's going to take you forever. But if you keep it together like this, you can get this black masking off in about 20 minutes. Once you have the whole black masking off, use Goo Gone and spray it on there and clean it up, and you'll be ready for the next step. The first thing to install will be the light rings on your new panel. Now, on your cone, there's these 2 wires, or imitation of wires. Look on your mid-range on how those are pointed, because you want to point it the same way on the tweeter. Now what we're going to do is we're going to screw the tweeter onto the back of the cone, which will give you an illusion of a mid-range. And it comes with 1 1/4 inch number 8 screws. You want to take your number 8 lock washer, put that on there, and then your number 8 washer. And this is going to screw down the lighted cone on this side. On the other side, and if you have aftermarket speakers, you're going to do what we do on this side twice. You're going to take your speaker cone, put your light ring on it, line that up with the holes, and screw that down. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that now. Okay, on your original panel, these bolts that stick up are what are called elevator bolts. Now, we decided not to go with elevator bolts. We used regular T-nuts and regular screws. Now, because we're going to use the standard DMD, we're going to want to use the 1 1/4 inch number 6s. Now remember to include your black standoffs when you install those. The other thing that we're going to install is on your original panel, your mounting bracket went over the top. On the new panels, it comes with a new mounting bracket that will screw into the hole right above the speaker there, and the bracket's going to fit right in there, and this will secure your board. So let me go ahead and install all those components. Okay, now this is with the original DMD installed. Now if you had a color DMD, you could either use the smaller screws that we supplied for the color DMD, but we're probably going to start discontinuing the smaller screws. If you check a color DMD manual, it says to put the black offset on the top of the color DMD. So your color DMD would go down, you use the black offset, and then you would use this screw. I also forgot to mention, when you take off your original brackets from your board, the screws that were from the original mounting bracket is the same screw that you're going to use these brackets. So our next step is to hook up the electronics. Okay, this is the supplied power tap, and this is how we get power to your mod. Now on all of our power taps for the WPC and WPC 95, we also include a Molex in case you have a Molex mod. This is already built in for you. Now we're needing to get the 12 volt off of one of these 3 jacks, and all you got to do is just unplug that port. Now you have 2 of these connectors. Take the top one and just plug it in how the original was. Now you have the second port that's sticking out, and you have what's called a Z-connect. Line up where the 3 wires are, and the Z-connect will plug in to your new plug. And then you'll take your existing plug and it'll also plug in. So this acts as a bridge, so electricity can go to tap off what we need, and it still keeps all of the game connections done. So this is the main power plug that we want to come off of. This is a 5.5 millimeter by 2.1 millimeter plug. We're going to just plug this in, and this is the Y. We need to go to the Y because we're going to be supporting 2 boxes. The one box that has the 2 leads is going to be for your speakers, and then there's a box that has a single lead is going to be for your main DMD. Now included with your kit are 3 4-pin connectors that I forgot to mention on the original, but this is how your LED lights get hooked up. If you look on your board, the 4-pin connector just slides right in to the 4 pins, and there's going to be a little arrow. Look on your controller for where the little arrow is and line your little arrow up, and that will connect. Now we suggest taking some tape to wrap around this so it doesn't easily disconnect. Now on the speakers, each speaker comes with a nice long line, and that'll be done the same way. Put your 4-pin connect into the adapter, find the arrow, line that up with the arrow, and then do the same on the other side. Find the arrow, line it up with the arrow, and plug it in. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit of tape and we'll secure those down. Okay, so we just put a little bit of black tape on our connections to keep them secure. You can use black tapes or you can do the zip ties on a zigzag, but that's kind of challenging. Now, what I like to do is test it, make sure it's all working before we completely button it up. So I'll just lift up the panel and turn on the game. And you have your speaker lights are going and your panel's changing color. So everything's working properly. So let's go ahead and turn this off and we'll button it all up. Okay, now you're going to want to clean up your wiring some with the zip ties. And these are the remote control sensors. You're going to want to have them exposed so we can get access to them to change the colors. Now just lift up your panel, put your plastic onto the panel, and make sure there's nothing in the U channel. Of course, there's always a couple wires trying to hide in there. Now this has to be raised up a little bit to get over the brackets, and push it all the way back and it'll drop into place. Now take your H channel and your H channel is just going to slide right over. You won't screw that on in the back. There's no reason to screw it on to the back. Now let's again verify that everything's going. So now this is the remote control sensor. I'm gonna set this here. Well, let's turn this on and kind of look through some colors. Now you have a full RGB palette for your panel. Often a little bit of pink or a little bit of purple or even yellow or orange can really dress up the panel. Now unfortunately the video doesn't do it justice. And then your other sensor would control your speaker lights. The white kind of shows off good, but for this game I would prefer a red or a blue. I'm going to stay on the red, and I'm going to go with a little bit of pink on this side. Now, next, just put your glass back. So for the final step is just replace your trans light. Just slide it into place, lift up, and then put it in place. And there's your beautiful new panel.